Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm the Adult Services Librarian at the Waynesville Library, and this is part 2 of a 7-part series called Local Delights, where we're talking about 7 things that it would be really great for you to know how to make or prepare, things that are very common in Western North Carolina. Today we're going to tackle biscuits. So I wasn't raised on biscuits. I'm from Illinois, and my family always ate dinner rolls, yeast dinner rolls. And so when I moved here, I was really excited to learn how to make biscuits. And I had several people show me their family recipe. There are as many different ways of making biscuits as there are ways to eat them. So you'll find that there's rolled biscuits and there's drop biscuits and all different sizes. But today we are going to be making buttermilk biscuits, very commonly found here in Western North Carolina, made with white lily flour. And if you make them really, really big, about this size, they're called cat head biscuits. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to make regular size because this is the pan we're using, cast iron skillet. So why use buttermilk? So this is one of the main ingredients that really does make a difference. Because of the acidity of the buttermilk in conjunction with the leavening agents, it helps your biscuits to rise. Don't use low fat. Always use full fat buttermilk. Why are we going to make them square today? So that we don't have to roll them out and then cut them, which means you have to re-roll the scraps, and that toughens up the dough. So I'm going to show you how to just the simplest way to make them just square. And the last point is why white lily flour. It is a low protein flour that's made from soft wheat, and it's low in gluten. So this is the best choice for biscuits. Most southern bakers will tell you that white lily is the best of all the flours that you can buy. So you don't want to buy King Arthur flour. King Arthur all-purpose flour is high in protein. So either get store brand or white lily. All right, so what we're going to need is butter or lard. I have lard that I bought at Hickory Nut Gap Farm in Fletcher. It's the only place I've seen that you can buy lard right from the butcher. White lily flour, some salt in our little Stormtrooper shaker, full fat buttermilk, baking powder, and baking soda. That's it. So we're going to go ahead and put our ingredients in the bowl, and I'll show you a couple of tricks of how to mix them up so you get the best results. So we just need 2 cups of all-purpose white lily flour. I don't ever weigh it for biscuits. I know some people say that it's really important to weigh your ingredients whenever you're baking, but I've not found that much of a difference, so I just do the scoop and level. All right, so 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Usually a palmful of something is a tablespoon, so if you do about half, it's gonna be close to a teaspoon. 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And then, let's see, 1 teaspoon of soda. And then you just mix your dry ingredients. You don't have to sift it or whisk it or anything like that. It's really very simple. You just want to mix the dry ingredients quickly. Now this is the important part. Your fat needs to be cold. So I actually cut this lard into chunks, and then I popped it in the freezer. That's really the smartest thing you can do, because you don't want your fat to melt, and your hands are warm, so when you mix it up, you can end up incorporating it too much. So I'm going to mix this, and I'll come back in just a minute and show you what it looks like when it's fully mixed to the right consistency. We've mostly incorporated the fat, but what I want to show you is the texture before we add the buttermilk. Should be able to clump it and see how that holds together pretty well. And then also some pieces of fat about that size left in there. Don't incorporate it completely. You want those little bits of fat in there, because when the steam hits it, when the heat of the oven hits it, it creates steam. And you'll get these nice little pockets that help kind of lift your biscuits. 3/4 of a cup to 1 cup of buttermilk. So we're not gonna pour it all in. We just want to see if we need it. You might need the full cup, but it's much better to hold back a little bit so they're not too wet. And remember, this biscuit dough won't be as wet as if you were doing drop biscuits, where you just scoop it out with a big spoon and kind of put it on a cookie sheet. And that's why it's called a drop biscuit, so you don't have to cut them or anything. So this is a little sticky. You don't want to overwork your biscuit dough because you don't want to activate the gluten. So it's kind of like when you make muffins, you know how they always say just mix to combine? This is like that. So I don't think we're gonna, yeah, see that's perfect. So we're not gonna need all of that buttermilk. So I'm just gonna give it a quick mix like that. All right, so we're ready now to turn it out and cut the squares. So I'm gonna use this cutting board and I'm just gonna put down a little bit of flour. And I'm gonna dump my dough out. See, it's what you would call shaggy. That's what they call dough that's not completely cohesive and got some rough edges. Just gonna very gently not really kneading it, I'm simply trying to get it into a cohesive square without handling it too much, and that looks pretty good. So you can roll it out a little bit if you'd like to, but I just don't see the need for it. And I learned this trick from Ina Garten, actually, that the cutting biscuits into a circle is completely unnecessary. So you just cut them with a sharp knife. Make them whatever size you want. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these into the cast iron skillet, which I have buttered. So we're just gonna lay them in there. It's okay if they touch. In fact, it's kind of nice if they do, because then you'll get some soft edges and some crispy edges. And I just lay them around. You know, you'll see some of these will have a rounded edge, and they fit real well on the side. And then we got one more we can make room for. Perfect. All right. So they don't have to be spaced perfectly apart. Now that your biscuits are in your cast iron skillet, we're ready to pop them in the oven. I've got a 450-degree preheated oven. So I'm gonna bake them for about 18 minutes, and we'll come back and show you what they look like when they're done. Look at this, aren't they beautiful? That was 16 minutes in a 450-degree oven. And then I brushed a little bit of butter on the top. And that's it. Biscuits are easy to make. You just have to remember a few of the tips and tricks that I gave you so they'll turn out nice and flaky. For the written instructions, you can get them at the library's webpage. You can see the address below. And if you have any questions for me, please send me an email at the email address that you see on the screen. And thanks so much for watching.